Economy remains firm despite volatile ringgit. Malaysia leads the way in 5G connectivity. Hello, good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Muhammad Amin and you're watching Malaysia Tonight. Well, Bursa Malaysia opened marginally higher today ahead of Bank Negara Malaysia's or BNM's overnight policy rate or OPR decision tomorrow. Now at 9:21 a.m., the FTSE Bursa Malaysia KLCI or FBM KLCI was 0.81 points higher at 1,393.30 compared to 1,392.49 at Tuesday's close. The key index opened 0.11 of a point lower at 1,392.38. The broader market was positive with advances beating decliners 192 to 164, while 249 counters were unchanged, 1,630 untraded and 18 others suspended. Turnover, meanwhile, stood at 327.70 million units, worth 129.37 million ringgit. Rakuten Trades India and Berhad Equity Research Vice President Thong Pat Ling expects market sentiments to remain cautious ahead of the OPR decision, although the BNM is projected to maintain the current rate. Now, Maybank Investment Bank recently said they expect another 25 basis points or BPS hike in the OPR, bringing it to 3.25%, premised on the revised federal funds rate or FFR outlook, as well as a worryingly weak ringgit. In a research note yesterday, it said that based on the June projection, the FFR could reach 5.62% by year-end, implying 2 more rounds of 25 BPS increases. Sector-wise, the financial services index strengthened by 17.22 points to 15,500.39. The energy index earned 3.25 points to 795.66. The plantation index gained 3.32 points to 6,833.06. And the industrial products and services index garnered 0.30 of a point to 159.10. Interbank rates closed stable today on Bank Negara Malaysia's or BNM operations to absorb surplus liquidity from the financial system. Liquidity in the conventional system rose to 36.39 billion ringgit from 33.59 billion ringgit this morning, while Islamic funds liquidity fell to 16.46 billion ringgit from 19.49 billion ringgit previously. Earlier, the central bank conducted 2 reverse repo tenders and a Bank Negara Interbank Bills or BNIB tender. BNM also announced the availability of reverse repo, sale and buyback agreements, as well as collateralized commodity murabaha facilities for tenors of 1 to 3 months. The central bank has revised the conventional overnight tender from 35.5 billion ringgit to 38 billion ringgit. At 4 p.m., BNM called for a 38 billion ringgit conventional money market tender and a 17.5 billion ringgit murabaha money market tender, both for one-day money. The Malaysia Islamic overnight rate, or MYORI, stood at 3% as of 4th July. Well, Malaysia still attracts foreign direct investment or FDI's inflows. Its economic fundamentals and long-term prospects remain intact, while access to credit remains widely available to finance economic activities despite a volatile ringgit. Now, Maybank Investment Bank Chief Economist Suhaimi Ilyas said the country's trade or current account surplus has been sustained for decades despite having budget deficits. Additionally, he said the budget deficit itself is in the process of consolidation, declining from a high of over 6% of gross domestic product or GDP during the pandemic years of 2020 to 2021 to 5.6% of GDP in 2022. The budget deficit, then targeted to be 5% of GDP this year, thus made progress to a sustainable level of around 3% to 3.5% of GDP, targeted by 2025. Well, furthermore, the budget deficit is virtually fully financed by domestic debt rather than external debt, reflecting the high level of internal financial resources thanks to the high savings rate, another important economic fundamental. Well, Malaysia also continues to attract FDIs as indicated by the robust FDI approvals since 2021, which saw a record high of 209 billion ringgit and remain robust at 163 billion ringgit in 2022, well over the average of 58 billion ringgit per annum during the 2010-2019 period. Well, Malaysia has become a global leader in 5G connectivity with fast and reliable networks, according to the most recent benchmarking study, quote, benchmarking the global 5G experience June 2023, unquote, by OpenSignal. Now, OpenSignal, a website specializing in mobile network performance measurement and analysis, said the availability of a secure, robust and reliable 5G network in Malaysia would also be a strong contributing factor for foreign investors when considering locations in the region. While data points in the report emphasize Malaysia's outstanding achievements in implementing and delivering a great 5G experience for consumers. The OpenSignal research shows that Malaysia's 5G network delivers excellent speed and reliability, outperforming many industrialized nations with an average 5G download speed of 322.7 megabits per second or Mbps. Malaysia is currently ranked 4th for average 5G download speed behind South Korea with 432.5 Mbps, Singapore 376.8 Mbps, and Brazil 346.4 Mbps. In total, there are only 7 markets where average 5G speeds are above 300 Mbps. Well, the country's high score is helped by its 5G single wholesale network approach, which has been able to expedite the rollout and deliver a world-class customer experience. The announcement by Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadzil on examining the base price and licensing issues surrounding the courier industry was welcomed by the industry players. The industry players believe the proactive steps taken by the minister will allow the industry to be more competitive and at the same time provide a better service to consumers.
Most importantly, the infrastructure can be further upgraded to be able to help Malaysian products to be efficiently distributed within the country and also to the region and globally. And the most important thing, the policy is also to enable the industry to sustain, to provide good customers' experience. One of the priority to set a dynamic base price mechanism for a healthy and sustainable industry.
We've been working really closely with the government and the regulator over the last few months on this very subject, and I can say throughout that process they've been very empathetic, they've been listening, and that's all you can really ask for from an industry perspective. But critically, it's not just about the courier industry, it's not just about the 120,000 odd employees that the sector employs.
Yesterday, the minister said he would meet with the Association of Malaysian Express Carriers, or AMEC, and the chief executive officers of courier companies to get their views and gather data to be included in Budget 2024. According to him, the courier industry is essential as it provides job opportunities to more than 160,000 people, in addition to 100,000 workers involved in the P-hailing services. Well, national car maker Proton marked a successful first half of 2023, or 1H 2023, by posting its best cumulative sales numbers since 2012, outpacing the automotive industry's total sales growth during the period by more than 3 times. Now, with 14,351 units sold in June for both its domestic and export markets, its total sales in 1H 2023 now stand at 77,321 units. This was equivalent to an increase of 28.6% year-on-year, or YOY, more than triple the automotive market's 1H 2023 growth of 9.4%. In a statement released today, Proton said this was the highest growth figure among the top 5 brands in the country's automotive market. The total industry volume, or TIV, for June is estimated to be 61,900 units, and Proton estimated its market share at 23.2%. Year to date, its market share figure has increased to 21.3%. an improvement of 3.2% YOY. Now, 5 of its car models lead the sales in their individual market segments. It said, highlighting that the Proton Saga retook the lead for A-segment sedans in June, going over the 6,000 unit threshold for the third time this year with sales of 6,111 units. Meanwhile, 1,082 units of the Proton X7, or rather X90, were delivered in June, taking the model straight to the top of the D-segment SUV category. The Proton Persona also ended the month at the top of its market segment with 2,254 units sold.
Memulakan langkah pertama memerlukan 1,000 kekuatan. Langkah seterusnya memerlukan nekat dan juga keyakinan. Namun kita harus sokong dan bantu mereka kerana kepulihan itu pasti.
Coming up, elections in 6 states to cost 420 million ringgit. The Election Commission, or EC, has announced that polling for the state elections in Kedah, Kelantan, Terengganu, Pulau Pinang, Selangor and Negeri Sembilan will be held simultaneously on 12th of August.
Tarikh keluar RIT 5 Julai 2023 hari ini, hari Rabu. Hari penamaan calon 29 Julai 2023 hari Sabtu. Hari mengundi awal 8 Ogos 2023 Selasa. Hari mengundi 12 Ogos 2023 Sabtu.
EC Chairman Tan Sri Abdul Ghani Saleh said the state polls would involve 245 seats, comprising 36 in Kedah, 45 in Kelantan, 32 in Terengganu, 40 in Pulau Pinang, 56 in Selangor, and 36 in Negeri Sembilan. He noted that the campaign period has been fixed for 14 days, beginning from after the announcement on candidates' names until 11:58 p.m. on 11th August. The EC chairman added that applications for all categories of postal votes overseas and in the country were open on 15 June. He also said that EC had appointed 245 returning officers and 740 assistant returning officers for the polls, and EC would also set up 252 election campaign enforcement teams, or PPK-PR, to monitor election campaign activities throughout the official campaign period. On another note, the EC chairman said the EC has estimated the upcoming state elections in Kedah, Kelantan, Terengganu, Pulau Pinang, Selangor and Negeri Sembilan to cost 420 million ringgit. Elaborating further, he also said a total of 153,760 officers will be appointed to handle the election process in the 6 states, where a total of 173 nomination centres and 186 official vote tallying centres will be opened. Voters in the 6 states will cast their votes at 3,450 voting centres, involving a total of 17,425 polling streams, adding that the polling centres would include 26, with 377 channels for early voters. Meanwhile, Tan Sri Abdul Ghani said about 9.77 million voters are eligible to vote in the 6 states elections, with 9.67 million of them ordinary voters, and the others include soldiers and their spouses, 49,660 people, police personnel and their spouses, 47,728, and overseas absentee voters amounting to 1,727. Referring to the age group of the voters, the EC chairman said 661,905 people are around 20 and above, while 28,991 people are aged 90 and above. Well, a more inclusive social protection system is needed in Malaysia, as it is currently narrow and inadequate, with only 9.1% of intended beneficiaries being covered versus an average of 55.1% for Asia and 12.8% for the world. Well, Employees Provident Fund of Malaysia, EPF Chief Executive Officer Dato Sri Amir Hamzah Azizan said old age dependency is also showing an increase from every 10 working age adults needed to support one older person in 2020 to 3 working age adults in 2050. Dato Sri Amir Hamzah said the issue of savings adequacy has also impacted EPF members' retirement well-being. Well, as of May 2023, Dato Sri Amir said that only 30% of its active formal members meet basic savings by age, while only 18% of its total members met the same threshold. As the EPF's membership now reaches a large network of 15.8 million members, EPF strives to implement long-term strategies to create a positive impact and foster well-being. Among others, the CEO said the EPF is now focused on extending coverage and enhancing members' retirement savings adequacy. With only 56% of Malaysia's 16.7 million labour force having some form of formal social protection coverage, the EPF has also deployed mobile units to reach out to 7 million people in the informal sector and self-employed who could become EPF members. Coming up in our foreign segment, Palestinians defiant amid damage after Israeli troops withdraw from Jenin. Well, Russia today revealed that it has not taken a final decision about whether to extend the Black Sea grain deal, which is due to expire on 17 July. Well, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said no official decision had been announced yet on whether to renew the deal, which allows for the safe export of grain from Ukraine. Well, Russia has consistently said it sees no grounds to renew the agreement beyond 17 July because of obstacles to its own exports of grain and fertilizer. But Peskov said there was still time for the West to address those issues. So under the deal, Russia guaranteed the safety of grain ships heading to and from Ukrainian ports through waters it controls. When it was signed in July 2022, the United Nations and Russia also signed a memorandum of understanding committing the UN to facilitate unimpeded access of Russian fertilizer and other products to global markets. To fulfill the memorandum, Russia says several conditions must be met, including the readmission of the Russian Agricultural Bank to the Belgian-based international banking payment system, SWIFT. Israeli occupation forces today declared the end of a large-scale military operation in the occupied West Bank that killed at least 12 Palestinians over the previous 2 days. Now, Israeli troops withdraw in West Bank, while Palestinians defiant amid damage after Jenin raid. The raid, involving hundreds of forces, drone strikes and armored bulldozers, targeted the northern West Bank city of Jenin. And as the Israeli army pulled out from Jenin from late Tuesday, much of the crowded city was left charred and in rubble from the fighting, which displaced at least 3,000 residents. Its Edgerton refugee camp, a tiny and crowded urban area home to 18,000 people, has long been a stronghold of Palestinian fighters, including Hamas. Jenin residents inspected the widespread destruction in the camp, where gaping holes were torn into buildings, cars were crushed, and the ground was littered with bullet casings and broken glass. Thousands of Palestinians across the occupied West Bank celebrated the army's withdrawal, though many said a large Israeli force was still present. The Palestinians labeled the escalation there an act of, quote, open war against the people of Jenin, unquote. A UN official visiting Syria's Idlib urged a 12-month extension of a cross-border aid mechanism to the rebel-held quake-hit region just days before the current 6-month period expires. Now, the mechanism, which is renewed by a vote of the Security Council, allows vital UN assistance to reach people in rebel-held northwest Syria without navigating areas controlled by government forces. It was last renewed in January and is set to expire on 10th July. David Carden, the United Nations Deputy regional humanitarian coordinator for the Syria crisis, said a 12-month extension of the resolution would ensure that aid would continue to flow during the desperate winter months. It would also ensure that early recovery programs can be implemented. And after a 6th February earthquake devastated parts of Turkey and Syria, Damascus agreed to open 2 more crossings from Turkey, Bab al-Salama and al-Rai, for 3 months, and in May extended that access for another 3-month period. Torrential rain has killed at least 15 people in the southwestern Chinese city of Chongqing as President Xi Jinping called for greater efforts to protect the public from extreme weather. Now, heavy downpours have unleashed devastating floods and deadly mudslides in recent weeks, while hailstorms and unusually high temperatures, which many people suspect is a result of global warming, have brought misery to many parts of the country. In the sprawling city of Chongqing, floods have forced thousands from their homes, bridges have been destroyed, and homes and cars washed away. As well as the 15 people killed over recent days, 4 were missing as of early today. The latest round of heavy rain has disrupted the lives of more than 130,000 people and damaged more than 7,500 hectares of crops. Xi demanded that authorities at all levels give top priority to ensuring the safety of people and property, and he called on the State Flood Control and Drought Relief Headquarters and the Ministries of Emergency Management and Water Resources to improve their coordination and warnings.
To Main Game. I'm your host Ifa, and in this episode we have a ton of awesome esports just for you.
Yeah, it's on a small scale, but the passion's still there.
In sports, 3 tournaments to benchmark Zijia for training program. The performance in the 3 closest tournaments will be used as a benchmark for Coach Wong Tat Ming in structuring a suitable training program for the country's top professional singles player, Lee Zijia. For that purpose, Tat Ming, who entered the second day of coaching Zijia, said he first wanted to witness for himself the ability of the 25-year-old player in action on the court, starting with the South Korea Open and the Japan Open this July, as well as the Australian Open in August. Tat Ming said in addition to improving the player's skills ahead of the tournament, the main focus is to improve Zijia's psychological ability to absorb pressure when performing or facing the pressure of fans who demand that the player rise to perform brilliantly. Previously, Zijia was reported to have regained his motivation after choosing to take a short break following his declining performance in recent times, including exiting as early as the first round of the Singapore Open and Indonesia Open in June. At the same time, the 2021 All England champion experienced a drop in world rankings from 13th to 14th in the latest update released by Badminton World Federation. And on to leg power, Belgian Jasper Philipsen won his second successive Tour de France stage amid scenes of chaos as several riders hit the ground on the final circuit. Australian Caleb Ewan took second place and German Phil Bauhaus finished third in the fourth stage, a 182-kilometer ride from Dax, with Briton Adam Yates retaining the overall leader's yellow jersey. After the peloton rode at a snail's pace most of the day, things got hectic in the finale on the Paul Armagnac racing track near the vineyards that once belonged to 1973 Tour champion Luis Ocana of Spain. With just over 1.5 kilometers to go, European champion Fabio Jacobsen hit the deck on a right-hand bend with his Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl teammate Julien Alaphilippe, saying the riders were caught by surprise by the turns. half a dozen riders crashed inside the final kilometre, but nothing could derail Philipsen, who again benefited from a perfect lead-out to become the first sprinter to secure back-to-back victories on the Tour since Dylan Groenewegen in 2018. Philipsen took the green jersey for the points classification leader from France's Victor Lafay. A1 improved from third place on Monday, but the Lotto Destiny rider knows he has some work to do to beat Philipsen, who has now won the last 4 bunch sprints on the Tour.
And for the football fans, Fluminense coach Fernando Diniz has been appointed to lead Brazil on an interim basis while the National Football Federation, or CBF, pursues Carlo Ancelotti. Now, the one-year contract starts at the 2026 World Cup qualifying matches in September.
The CBF are still pursuing Real Madrid manager Ancelotti to be their new coach in the long term. CBF President Hernaldo Rodriguez said the Italian would be in charge for the 2024 Copa America, which starts on 20th June in the United States. However, the details of Ancelotti's contract and start date are yet to be worked out, as the Italian coach has a contract with Madrid until 2024 and has said he would honor the final year. The Brazil role has been vacant since the resignation of Tite following the team's quarterfinal exit at the 2022 World Cup. The 5-time world champions have been coached by under-20 manager Ramon Menezes in recent friendlies against African teams. Diniz will continue his role at Fluminense while juggling national team duties.
Liga champions Paris Saint-Germain parted ways with manager Christophe Galtier today, bringing the curtain down on a tumultuous campaign under the Frenchman who had a year left on his contract.
Galtier had signed a 2-year deal when he arrived at Parc des Princes ahead of the 2022-23 season, but despite guiding PSG to a record-breaking 11th Ligue 1 title, their failure in the Champions League came back to haunt him. Galtier is widely expected to be replaced on the PSG bench by former Barcelona and Spain coach Luis Enrique. News of Galtier's departure from the Qatar-owned club had been expected ever since the end of the last Ligue 1 season at the start of June. Their league success was also overshadowed by a disappointing exit from the Champions League in the last 16 to Bayern Munich. PSG also went out of the French Cup at the same stage to Marseille. In addition, the final weeks of Galtier's reign were marred by accusations that he made racist remarks about players during his previous job at Nice. He has vehemently denied the accusations but will stand trial in December on charges of moral harassment and discrimination. The offences are punishable by 3 years imprisonment and a €45,000 fine.
Well, Saudi Arabian Pro League team Al Ahly announced that Brazilian striker Roberto Firmino has joined their side on a free transfer following his departure from Liverpool. Well, the 31-year-old will team up with goalkeeper Eduard Mendy, who has also left the Premier League after 3 seasons with Chelsea.
Firmino's arrival was revealed by the club in a video posted to social media. Firmino joined Liverpool in 2015 and helped the team win the Champions League, FA Cup and Premier League titles. The Brazil international bade farewell to Anfield in late May, scoring his 111th goal for the club during their last game of the season. Firmino joins a long list of high-profile players who have moved to the Saudi Pro League in recent weeks, with the likes of Ballon d'Or winner Karim Benzema, N'Golo Kante and Ruben Neves, following the footsteps of Cristiano Ronaldo, who moved to Al Nassr in January. Backed by the nation's sovereign wealth fund, the Saudi Pro League is luring big names from the major European leagues with a promise of huge salaries.